Welcome to Mimi's Kitchen. We're gonna do a sourdough bread today. So hopefully you have a sourdough starter. If not, ask someone from your neighborhood and see if they have one, and we'll get in right to it. Okay, so I put a cup of my sourdough starter in here, and then we're gonna put 2 cups of warm water. So I heat it up to about 111 degrees. I have a teapot, so I use that. And we're gonna add in a half a cup of whole oats in there, a tablespoon of salt, and for the sweetener, it's just a tablespoon of honey. We're gonna add that in there. And we're just gonna stir this up, and we're actually gonna let it sit for a little bit while the oats are soaking up some of the water, and then we'll start adding flour right after. Okay, I've let it sit for about 10 minutes, and now we're gonna start adding in the flour. And usually I'll add 2 cups of flour the first time. You just take a spoon and stir it, okay? We're gonna add another cup of flour. Okay, I don't know if you can see this, but it's sticky. That's only 3 cups of flour. Here's number 4. Kind of when it gets to the thickness, I usually like to use my hands. I actually kind of like to leave this a little bit on the sticky side, but not too sticky. I started making sourdough starter during the pandemic. My sister-in-law actually gave me some sourdough starter. Unfortunately, I let it die off, but I made my own. It took 7 days to make it. I've had it ever since, so I've had this starter dough since 2020, and I make bread once a week, and so I just feed it once a week. I put it in the fridge. So with sourdough, I had to leave it out for 24 hours. So you take a cup of it out, and then you add a cup of flour and a cup of water, and then you stir it, and then you let it sit out for 24 hours again before you put it back in the fridge. And then you always have bread. You never have to worry about buying yeast, because I know during the pandemic, there was a lot of people running out of yeast and stuff. Well, the sourdough makes its own. And I have one daughter that is allergic to yeast, so this actually works out quite well. So it's still sticky. We're gonna sprinkle some flour down, and we're just gonna knead it with our hands. And you'll be able to so she gave me the ideas, my sister-in-law, to put different things in your bread. So that's why I came up with the cinnamon raisin bread. I love that one because you can make French toast out of that in the morning. It's really good. So it actually looks pretty good. It's still slightly sticky, but not that bad. You can see it here. And you can actually see the oatmeal in there. So what I do is I grab, this is my big old cast iron, and I line it with parchment paper. And then I like doing this overnight. So it takes approximately 6 hours. So if you do it during the day, it's gonna take you 6 hours before it rises. 6 to 8 hours, depending on how warm it is. But I started doing it overnight, and it's fluffier, it's softer, and so we're actually going to put it in the corner over here, and I'll show you where I keep it. I put a towel underneath and a towel on top, and I will show you what it looks like in the morning after it's baked. Okay, so this is my warm spot in the kitchen. So I have a towel underneath. This is my sourdough starter thing. I love this thing. I bought it on Amazon, and that's the one I keep in the fridge. And you can keep it up to a week. I have done 2 weeks, and it still comes out fine, but I pretty much make a loaf of bread every week. And then you just stick a towel on top, and you just do 1 layer. Don't do any more, because you want that sourdough to rise. And we'll see you in the morning. Okay, good morning, y'all. So here is our sourdough overnight. Go in a little bit closer. We're actually going to put the lid on here, and we're going to cook it in the oven for 35 minutes with the lid, and then we're going to take the lid off and cook it for another 30 minutes. Okay, it's been 30 minutes. We're going to take the lid off. This is how it looks like, and we're going to cook it for another 30 minutes with the lid off. Okay, we just pulled it out of the oven. Just pull your parchment paper up, peel it down, slide it off. We're gonna let it cool for 15 minutes, and then I'll cut it open so you can see what it looks like. Okay, I cut open the sourdough bread. This is what it looks like. Fresh bread in the morning. It's great. Thank you for watching the sourdough bread. It's one of my favorites. Please subscribe to my channel. I'd appreciate it. If you want notifications, click that little bell. Happy cooking.